My son told the buyers I could not be trusted with the books anymore. We were around the table in the front office, the floor of the shop going quiet behind the glass for the lunch whistle, and two men from a holding company had a folder open between them. When the older buyer asked why the founder was not running his own numbers, Daniel did not look at me. "That's my father," he said. "He built the place, and we're grateful. But his memory isn't what it was. We've been quietly cleaning up his mistakes in the accounts for about 2 years now." Then he slid a printout across to the buyer, the way you hand someone a receipt for a thing they already paid for. I had signed the front of every paycheck that left this shop for 38 years. I kept my hands folded on the table and said nothing, because 38 years of running a floor teaches a man that the loudest one in the room is rarely the one holding the wrench. My name is Walter. I started coal manufacturing with one used lathe and a loan my brother-in-law co-signed because the bank would not. I cut the first parts myself, swept my own floor, and learned the accounts at my kitchen table at night with a pencil and a ledger because I could not afford a bookkeeper. When the work came in, I hired the men who needed it most, and most of them stayed 20 years. My wife Carol did the payroll until the year she got sick, and after she was gone, I kept doing it her way, in the same green ledgers in ink, because a number you write by hand is a number you have to mean. The shop was never just a business to me. It was the proof that an honest day could build something that lasted. A few years ago, Daniel decided the place needed to grow up. He came back from his courses with software and a wife who had a strong opinion about everything except the floor. He moved the accounts onto a system only he could open, and he started saying the founder instead of dad when there were people around. He told me to stay on the floor where I was useful, that the money side was handled now. I let him have it. A father is very good at calling a closing door an open one if his son is the one shutting it. Then the numbers stopped making sense. Not on my floor. We shipped what we always shipped. The men worked the way they always worked. But the statements Daniel printed showed money leaving for reasons no job of ours could explain. When I asked, he had an answer for every line, and every answer ended with the same gentle suggestion that I was getting confused, that I should let it go, that this was exactly the kind of thing he was protecting me from. He said it kindly. The kind ones are the hardest to catch, because they make you feel like the problem is your own memory. The sale came together fast, the way a thing comes together when someone wants it closed before anyone slows down to read it. A holding company wanted the shop, the contracts, and the name, and Daniel wanted it signed before the summer orders shipped. He had already told the buyers the story he needed them to believe, that the founder was a proud old man they would have to manage around, that the messy books were my fault, and that the cleanest thing for everyone was to retire me with a handshake and a plaque. I was invited to the table to say goodbye. I was not invited to sign. I did not make a scene. After 38 years of layoffs I fought to avoid, audits I sat through, and men I carried through their worst winters, you learn not to swing until you can see what you are swinging at. So I sat quiet while my son sold the work of my life and described me to strangers as the thing that had nearly ruined it. I was not planning anything. I only knew one thing that no one at that table had thought to check. And in a business, the quietest record is the one that decides whose story is true. Here is what none of them looked at. When Daniel locked the accounts behind his system, I did not stop keeping the books. I kept them the way I always had. by hand every night in the green ledgers in my drawer. Every invoice we sent, every check that cleared, every dollar that came in, and where it was supposed to go. I did not do it to catch anyone. I did it because Carol taught me that you write the real number down before you trust anyone else's. So for 2 years, there were 2 sets of books in that building. The official one that Daniel printed for the buyers, with the holes he blamed on my age, and mine in ink that showed exactly where the missing money had gone, and it had not gone to any mistake of mine. The buyer had not driven 3 hours to inherit a problem he could not name. Late in the meeting, the holding company brought in their own man, a quiet accountant who had been reading the whole time without saying much. He looked up from the statements. "Before we adjust the price for these discrepancies," he said, "I'd like to reconcile them against source records. 2 years of variance is a lot to write off to error. Who actually keeps the ledgers here?" Daniel said the system was the system. The accountant said a system is only as honest as the hand that feeds it, and he asked again for the original books. I reached into the bag by my chair and set my ledgers on the table. The accountant went through them the way a careful man goes through anything, slowly, and then not slowly at all. He set my ledger beside the bank statements and the vendor invoices and started matching them line by line. The variances Daniel had hung on me lined up to the dollar, with a string of transfers out of the company account into an account I had never seen. On dates my ledger showed no approved job, no invoice, no purchase order behind them. He turned the pages so the buyers could see it. "These aren't the founder's errors," he said. "There's no work under them. They're withdrawals, the same destination account, the same authorizing signature month after month." He did not raise his voice. He did not have to. The whole front office went quiet, the way the floor goes quiet right before a machine that has been wrong all day finally stops. Daniel stared at the page like the numbers had spoken in a language he had not expected anyone else to understand. He looked down the table at me, at the old man with the green books and the ink on his fingers, and for the first time that morning he looked less like a man closing a deal and more like a boy caught holding the wrong receipt. "Dad," he said, and the word came out small, nothing like the founder he had handed the room an hour before. I could have let the accountant keep reading. One more page, one more push, and Daniel walks out of that room into a very different kind of meeting. The kind with a different sort of officer at the table. 38 years gives a man that much weight if he wants to throw it. I did not want to. I have buried a wife and 100 illusions about people, and I have never once enjoyed watching a man drown, even a man who tied the stone himself. I stood up and closed the ledger and kept my hand flat on the cover. "The books stay open," I told the room. "Every page. We fix what he took, the men keep their jobs, and the company keeps its name clean. That part is not for sale." I kept my voice low. A man who has spent his life keeping other men employed does not get loud the day the truth finally sits down on his side of the table. What happened next was quieter than Daniel deserved. When I picked up my ledgers, the rest of the room came with me. The buyer's accountant said he would not put his client's name near books he could not trust, and the deal as written was finished. My old foreman, who had run the floor beside me for 30 years, said the men would stay if I stayed. The young woman from the office, who Daniel had hired and then blamed along with me, said quietly that she had wondered for a year why she was told never to open certain accounts. They stayed because they knew who signed checks on Friday when cash was tight, who called suppliers by name and who never blamed a worker for a number he had not touched. I am 64, and I went back to the floor the way I started, except this time the books came back to my drawer where they belonged. We paid back what was taken, slowly, out of real profit, and we kept every job. The holding company walked away from a shop they could not buy clean, and somehow that felt less like a loss than a fence I was glad to find standing. I run the place a few more years now, smaller and honest, and I am teaching that young woman from the office to keep the ledgers the way Carol taught me, in ink, the real number first. The sign over the door still has my name on it. It means what it always meant. Daniel does not work here anymore. He calls some Sundays. I pick up because he is my son, and because a father keeps a few books open that have nothing to do with money. He does not say the founder now. He does not say very much at all. For 38 years, I was the man on the floor with ink on his hands, and they decided that made me easy to write off. They were half right. I was easy to write off. I was just never easy to erase, because I had been keeping the real account the whole time. You can call a man confused for as long as you like. Be sure first that the numbers agree with you. If stories about the people who quietly kept the real account while everyone else cooked theirs mean something to you, subscribe. There is a new one here every week. If you had been at that table, would you have opened the ledger gently or let the whole room read it out loud? Tell me below. And if there is a man or a woman in your life who built something honest and got called a liability for it, send this to them. They will know.